Welcome to the Reed Flute. Find a comfortable position, take a slow, deep breath, and let the day gently fall away as we begin. The night began softly at the edge of a caravanserai, where the desert road loosened its dust and the camels folded their long legs beneath the moon. A clay lamp burned in a niche by the gate. Its flame trembled whenever the wind moved through the arches, and beside it a reed flute lay across an old dervish's knees, quiet for the moment, as if it too were listening. Among the travelers was a young water carrier who had spent the day filling jars for men whose names were spoken loudly. Merchants called to one another across the courtyard. A judge was greeted with bows. A poet received sugared almonds from a patron. The water carrier moved between them with wet sleeves and a tired back, and no one asked where he had come from. When he sat near the dervish, his face held the look of someone afraid that life might pass over him like wind over sand, leaving no sign. The old dervish did not ask him to speak. He touched the reed flute once, not to play it, but to feel the hollow place through which the breath would later pass. Then he began a tale of Ibrahim ibn Adam, who had once worn the signs of a king and later walked the earth with a poor man's bowl. In a market of bulk, Ibrahim saw a slave for sale. The man stood barefoot on a reed mat, his wrists crossed before him, his eyes lowered not with dullness, but with a calm that made the shouting market seem far away. Ibrahim asked him, "What is your name?" The slave answered, "Whatever my master calls me." Ibrahim studied him more carefully. "What do you eat?" "Whatever my master gives me." "What do you wear?" "Whatever my master places upon me." "And what do you desire?" The slave lifted his eyes then. There was no cleverness in them, no wish to impress the one who questioned him. What has a slave to do with desire? At that, the market changed for Ibrahim. The sellers were still crying prices. A mule still shook its bells. A boy still ran past with figs in a basket. Yet Ibrahim felt as though a door had opened in his own chest. He had left a throne, but not all of the throne had left him. He had given away robes, but he still carried the hidden robe of being someone. He still wanted to be known as the one who had renounced, the one who had awakened, the one who had walked away. He bought the slave, led him from the market, and when they reached a quiet wall in the shade, Ibrahim wept. The slave, seeing tears on the face of his new master, became troubled and asked whether he had spoken wrongly. Ibrahim said, "No, by your few words, you have shown me the house I have not yet entered." The slave had not preached. He had not raised his voice. He had not tried to make himself rare. He had simply stood in the place given to him without the fever of a name. Ibrahim understood that a heart may be more free in obscurity than a king in a hall of mirrors. To be nobody before the world was not the same as being nothing before the friend. In the caravanserai, the water carrier lowered his head. The old dervish looked at the jars near the well, each one plain, each one carrying sweetness for the night. The reed flute waited in silence, cut from its reed bed, hollowed by separation, made useful by emptiness. May you rest without needing the dark to repeat your name. The lamp settled into a smaller flame, and the night opened toward a road where a patched cloak would be asked to rise before a king. Later, when the first watch of the night had deepened, the caravanserai grew quieter. The merchants stopped counting coins. A cook rinsed his copper pot and turned it upside down beside the kitchen door. Stars appeared in the black bowl of the sky, and the reed flute gave one low breath, not yet a melody, only a reminder that the hollow reed knows the way of longing. The old dervish spoke of Shiraz, where Saadi had watched kings pass through gardens and beggars sleep beside rose walls with the same moon above them. In that city, there was once a ruler who liked to move through the streets at evening, surrounded by horsemen, guards, torchbearers, and servants who held the hems of his brocade robe away from the dust. The people stood when he passed. Shopkeepers came out from their stalls. Even men who had been bargaining over onions grew solemn and bowed, as if the earth itself had shifted. At the corner of a garden wall sat a dervish in a patched cloak. He was not asleep. He was not blind. He had a piece of dry bread in his hand and a wooden bowl beside his knee. When the king approached, everyone rose, but the dervish remained seated. His back rested against the wall. A rose petal had fallen onto his sleeve, and he did not brush it away. The king noticed him at once, for a seated man among bowed men becomes a mountain in a flat plain. The guard stiffened. One courtier whispered that the beggar should be punished. Another said perhaps the man was mad. The king, stung by the stillness of one who did not tremble, stopped his horse. "Dervish," he said, "did you not see the king?" The dervish looked up as though hearing the question from far across water. "I saw a man on a horse," he said. The king's face tightened. "Do you not know what respect is owed?" The dervish placed the dry bread in his bowl. His hands were thin, but they moved without hurry. "O king, those who need something from the palace stand quickly. Those who need nothing are slow to rise." A murmur moved through the crowd. The torches snapped in the night air. The king wanted to be angry, yet the words had entered him like a thorn hidden in silk. He looked at the dervish's torn cloak, at the bare feet dusted white from the road, at the wooden bowl that held less than a child's breakfast. By every measure of the market, the man possessed nothing. Still, he did not look poor in the way the king's flatterers looked poor. He did not lean forward. He did not reach. The king asked, more quietly, "Then who is the greater man?" The dervish smiled. "The one who is not ruled by what he guards." For a while no one spoke. The horse shifted its weight. A servant lowered his torch. Somewhere behind the garden wall, water moved through a channel, unseen but steady. The king touched his reins and rode on, not defeated, not converted in a single breath, but carrying a silence he had not brought with him. The people remembered that the dervish had not risen. The dervish forgot it before the next rose petal fell. The old dervish in the caravanserai paused. The water carrier thought of how often the heart bows to passing horses, hoping to be noticed by what cannot bless it. A man may stand before every throne and still be unseen by himself. May you sleep like one who is not measured by the riders passing in the street. Beyond the gate, a jackal called once, and the sound faded toward a hermit's hut where miracles were weighed against kindness. Near midnight, a cooler wind entered the caravanserai and moved the smoke of the lamps toward the domed ceiling. The sleepers shifted beneath wool blankets. In one stall, a camel chewed slowly, as if time itself were straw. The old dervish lifted the reed flute and played 3 notes. They were low and plain, not ornamented, like footsteps across sand. He then remembered Abu Saidi of Bulkair, whose lodge received both scholars and farmers, both ragged seekers and men hungry to be called saints. In the courtyard of that lodge, there was a mulberry tree that gave shade to anyone who entered. No branch asked whether the visitor was praised in the city. One evening, a young seeker came to Abu Saidi with dust on his forehead and a brightness in his eyes that was not yet peace. He had traveled from village to village hearing stories of masters who walked on water, saints who rose into the air, men whose breath healed fevers, and whose glance made kings tremble. He entered the lodge expecting a thunderclap and found the sheik mending a torn sandal with a bent needle. The young man bowed, but his bow was restless. "Master," he said, "teach me the secret by which a man may walk upon water." Abu Saidi pulled the thread through leather. "Frogs do that," he said. The seeker blinked. Perhaps he had been misunderstood. "Then teach me to fly through the air." "Birds do that." A few disciples lowered their eyes, hiding smiles. The young man flushed. He had hoped to be given a hidden practice, a word whispered only to the worthy. something that would set him apart from the men who bought lentils and argued over donkey saddles. His longing was not false, but it was mixed with the old fear that unless he became astonishing, he would remain unseen. Abu Saadi set the sandal down. The courtyard was very still. A lamp near the door hummed faintly as oil rose through the wick. The sheikh said, "Learn to live among people and not wound them. That is a harder crossing." The young man did not answer. He looked toward the water channel that ran beside the mulberry tree. In the dark, it held a trembling piece of the moon. A frog at the edge made a small sound and slipped in without ceremony. Above the roofline, a night bird passed across the stars and vanished. Neither frog nor bird considered itself holy. Days passed. The seeker remained at the lodge. No one taught him how to rise from the ground. Instead, he was sent to knead bread, to listen to an old widow who repeated the same grief each morning, to sweep the guest room after travelers left mud on the floor. At first, he did these things with the secret hope that someone would notice his humility. When no one did, his hands grew angry. When his anger tired, his hands grew quiet. One night, he found himself washing a bowl for a stranger who had not thanked him. The water was cold. A small piece of barley clung to the rim. He rubbed it away, and for one breath there was no witness, no story about himself, no miracle to be displayed. There was only the bowl, the water, the hand, and the one who sees through darkness without needing a lamp. The next morning, Abu Saadi passed him in the courtyard and nodded as if greeting someone newly arrived. The old dervish lowered the flute. In the caravanserais, the water carrier thought of the jars he had filled without thanks, and one of them seemed to shine in the corner, dark clay holding unseen sweetness. To be gentle where no one applauds is a hidden crossing. May you be carried tonight by the quiet worth of ordinary mercy. The stars bent over the roof, and the night drifted toward a village where even the center of the world could be found beneath a donkey's hoof. The middle of the night came without announcement. It settled over the caravanserai like a dark shawl. A few embers glowed in the brazier. The old dervish smiled to himself, and the water carrier sensed that a lighter tale was approaching, one of those small lanterns Nasreddin Haja liked to hang in the alleyways of pride. In a village where every wall had ears and every neighbor owned an opinion, Nasreddin once rode his donkey into the square just after evening prayer. The moon was thin. The baker had drawn his shutters closed, but the smell of flatbread remained in the stones. Men sat on low benches, arguing about land, weather, taxes, and the greatness of their own understanding. That week, a scholar from the city had passed through and spoken of maps. He had told them of oceans, mountains, and kingdoms so far away that the villagers felt both enlarged and diminished. Since then, each man had tried to place himself near the center of the world. The miller said the center must be near his mill, for all grain came there. The barber said no, it must be near his shop, because everyone came to him sooner or later. The headman said the matter was foolish, since the village itself was plainly the center, and his house stood at its most respectable point. When Nasreddin arrived, someone called out, "Haja, you have traveled. Tell us, where is the center of the world?" Nasreddin stopped his donkey in the square. The animal lowered its head and sniffed at a melon rind. Nasreddin looked at the men, then at the sky, then at the dust beneath him. He did not hurry. He stroked his beard with the gravity of a judge about to divide an inheritance. At this moment, he said, "The center of the world is exactly under my donkey's front hoof." The men stared. One laughed. Another said, "How can you prove such a thing?" Nasreddin leaned down and patted the donkey's neck. "Measure it. If it is not so, come back and correct me." The square burst into laughter, but the laughter was not cruel. It loosened something. The miller stopped defending the mill. The barber stopped pointing toward his shop. Even the headman smiled, though he did so carefully, as if it cost him a coin. The donkey, unaware of the honor placed beneath its hoof, shifted its weight and made the center of the world move 2 inches to the left. Nasreddin climbed down and picked up the melon rind. He carried it to the side of the square where goats sometimes fed. "A strange thing," he said. "Every man wants to stand at the center, but no man wants to be the dust that holds him." The villagers grew quiet. Not deeply quiet, perhaps. Nasreddin's village rarely stayed wise for long. Yet that night, as the benches emptied and lamps were pinched out, a few men walked home with less stiffness in their shoulders. The center had turned out to be a joke, and the joke had turned out to be a mercy. In the caravanserais, the old dervish let the silence after the tale remain unpolished. The water carrier imagined all the people of the world placing their little flags in the earth, each saying here, here, here. Above them, the stars did not quarrel over rank. Beneath them, the dust received every foot. May you release the need to be the center and feel the ground holding all things equally. A donkey bell rang once from the stable, and the knight moved on toward a poor woman's doorway where gold would be turned away. After the laughter faded, the caravanserai became tender again. The night air smelled faintly of ash, wool, and water stored in clay. The old dervish placed the reed flute beside him and rubbed his palms together, warming his fingers over the brazier. Then he spoke of Basra, of narrow lanes, flat roofs, and a woman whose poverty did not make her small. Rabia of Basra lived in a room where little could be hidden because little was there. A reed mat lay on the floor. A brick served as a pillow. A clay jug leaned near the door. At night, when the city grew still, her lamp burned with such a small flame that a passerby might have mistaken it for the last firefly of summer. Yet men and women came to that room carrying questions too heavy for houses with carved doors. One evening, a wealthy merchant heard that Rabia had eaten nothing but a crust. He was moved, though not purely by mercy. In his heart there was kindness, and beside it, a wish to be known as one who helped saints. He filled a purse with gold dinars and sent it by a servant. The servant came through the lane at dusk, holding the purse under his cloak. The coins touched one another with a soft, important sound. Rabia opened the door. The servant bowed and placed the purse before her. "My master sends this, so that you may live with ease." Rabia looked at the purse as one might look at a stone brought from the road. "Take it back," she said. The servant was troubled. "Mistress, he gave it freely." "Then let him be free of it," Rabia answered. The servant remained kneeling. He had expected gratitude, perhaps a blessing to carry back like perfume. Instead, the purse lay between them, heavy and mute. "He fears for you," the servant said. "He says hunger is hard." Rabia's face softened. She did not despise the merchant. She knew the knots that gold tied around giver and receiver alike. She lifted her clay jug and poured a little water into a cup. The water caught the lamp's glow and became amber for a breath. "Tell your master," she said, "that the one who feeds those who deny him has not forgotten those who love him." The servant took the purse back. Its weight seemed different now. In the merchant's house, the return of the gold caused an uneasiness no accepted gift could have caused. The merchant sat among cushions and accounts, hearing the coins settle in the purse like small questions. He had wanted to make Rabia secure. He had also wanted his name to enter her prayer. The refused gift showed him the part of himself that had dressed as generosity in order to be admired. Days later, he came himself. He did not bring gold. He brought a loaf still warm from the oven and left it at the door without knocking. Rabia found it in the morning, broke it, and shared it with a child who had been watching the pigeons in the lane. The old dervish in the caravanserai looked at the water carrier's hands, cracked from jars and ropes. A gift may be pure, he said softly, when it no longer asks to be seen standing beside the one it feeds. Then he grew silent, because even a gentle reflection can become too heavy if held too long. Outside, the stars seemed closer over the courtyard. The fear of being nobody often dresses itself as the wish to become necessary to another person. Rabia's little room had no space for such bargaining. May you be nourished tonight by the giver who does not need the world to notice. The brazier's coals fell inward, and the next tale waited like a folded letter in the room of the beloved. The old dervish waited until the courtyard had become so still that the water carrier could hear the faint settling of dust on the stones. Then he lifted the reed flute and played a phrase that rose and returned to itself. It sounded like a path walked for many years, only to find the door open. He spoke then of a tale carried in the breath of Rumi. There was once a lover who had been separated from his beloved for a long season. In the first days apart, he counted the distance in steps. Later, he counted it in moons. After that, he stopped counting because numbers had become another form of pain. He wrote letters on paper thin as onion skin, filling them with all he had suffered. He wrote of sleepless nights, of roads crossed, of rain endured beneath ruined arches, of meals left untouched because longing had already fed on him. He folded these letters and kept them inside his robe. Their edges softened from being touched. The ink blurred where tears had fallen. Over time, the letters became more than messages. They became proof. When he felt unseen, he pressed them to his chest and thought, "Here is my witness. Here is the record of how much I have loved." At last, after many delays, he reached the city of the beloved. Evening had fallen. Lamps glowed in latticed windows. The scent of pomegranate peel and wet earth rose from the lanes. A servant led him to a room where a single lamp burned beside a low cushion. There sat the beloved, alive, near, breathing the same air. The lover trembled. His face went pale. He bowed, sat, and, overcome by the habit of distance, drew the letters from his robe. With shaking hands, he unfolded the first and began to read aloud. He read of the first night of separation. He read of the second. He read of the caravan that left him behind, the fever in the mountains, the insults of strangers, the hunger, the dust, the river crossing, the dream in which he had seen the beloved's face reflected in a broken bowl. His voice thickened with the greatness of what he had carried. The beloved listened for a while. The lamp flame leaned toward them. Then the beloved reached out and gently placed a hand over the page. All these were true, the beloved said. But why read the letter when the one addressed is here? The lover fell silent. At first he felt ashamed, as though the story of his suffering had been taken from him. Without it, who was he? If he did not recite the distances, how would the beloved know the cost of arrival? Yet in the silence that followed, he saw what longing had done. It had brought him to the room, but now it stood between him and the face he had sought. He lowered the pages. The beloved's hand remained over them, warm and still. Outside, a night bird called from a cypress tree. Inside, the lover heard a softer call, not to prove the journey, but to arrive. The letters were not despised. They had served their season, but they were no longer the beloved. He folded them and placed them beside the lamp. For the first time in many years, he looked without reading. In the caravanserai, the old dervish touched the reed flute's hollow body. The water carrier understood a little. The heart sometimes carries a bundle of evidence into every room, hoping someone will say that its pain has made it important. But presence asks for a poorer, truer thing. May you lay down the old proofs and be received without reciting the journey. The lamp's halo widened on the wall, and another room appeared in the night, where a purse full of coins would reveal an empty hand. The second half of the night had begun. The world outside the caravanserai seemed emptied of all urgency. Even the horses no longer stamped. A boy asleep near the grain sacks turned onto his side, and the old dervish lowered his voice, as if speaking now for those who listen from the edge of dreams. He told of Junayd of Baghdad, whose sobriety was like clear water in a plain cup. Junayd lived among markets, alleys, scholars, craftsmen, and beggars. He did not hide from the city. He learned how the soul shows itself not only in prayer, but also in bargaining over dates, in the way a man steps around a puddle, in the hand that gives and still clutches. One afternoon, a wealthy man came to Junayd's gathering with a purse heavy enough to bend the silk cord around it. He had heard of the sheikh's disciples and wished to provide for them. He entered wearing a fine cloak lined with fur, though the weather was not cold. His beard was combed with rose oil. Behind him walked a servant carrying the purse on a tray. The man bowed with care. "Master, I have brought something for the poor among your companions." Junayd thanked him and invited him to sit. Tea was poured. The purse remained on the tray, catching the light from the courtyard. Every few moments the man glanced toward it, not from regret, but from the sweet ache of waiting to be praised. Junayd asked him, "Are you a rich man?" The visitor smiled modestly, the way men smile when they hope their modesty will also be admired. "God has given me plenty. Do you desire more than you have?" The visitor hesitated. A merchant's truth moved behind his eyes. "A man must provide for his household," he said. "Trade grows by care." Junayd nodded. "So you desire more?" The visitor's smile thinned. "Yes, master, as most men do." Junayd turned toward the disciples sitting on the reed mats. Some wore patch garments. One had eaten only lentils that day. Another had no sandals at the door. Then Junayd looked back at the visitor and said, "Give this purse to someone poorer than yourself." The man brightened, thinking Junayd had accepted. "That is why I brought it." Junayd's voice remained mild. "I am poorer in coins, but you are poorer in wanting. We have little and are content with little. You have much and hunger for more. Keep the purse until you find a man more in need of it than you." The courtyard became very quiet. A pigeon moved along the roof beam, its claws tapping softly. The servant looked down at the tray. The rich man's face reddened, then paled. The words had not humiliated him before others. They had uncovered him before himself. He had come to be seen as generous and found instead the beggar hidden inside abundance. For a moment, he wanted to argue. He wanted to explain the risks of trade, the duties of wealth, the cost of grain, the number of cousins who depended on him. But Junayd had not condemned wealth. He had pointed only to the thirst that no purse could fill. The man took the tray from his servant and placed it on the floor before the disciples. "Then pray," he said, "that the purse leaves my hand and some of the hunger leaves my heart." Junayd accepted it then, not as tribute, but as medicine. The coins were later distributed quietly. No inscription bore the donor's name. No one in the city was told. The rich man returned home lighter and less celebrated than he had hoped. In the caravanserai, the water carrier thought of the strange poverty of always needing more proof that one matters. Some empty bowls are full. Some full purses cry all night. May you be freed from the hunger that asks the world to keep filling your name. The courtyard lamps dimmed, and from far above the roof of the world came the imagined wing beat of a bird proud of its shadow. The old dervish looked upward through the open square of the caravanserai roof. The stars were clear, and a thin river of them seemed to pour from one edge of darkness to the other. He spoke then of Attar of Nishaper, who gathered the birds of the world into a valley of longing and gave each bird a human excuse. Among those birds was the Humay, a creature of royal rumor. It was said that when the Humay's shadow fell upon a person, that person would rise to kingship. Whether this was true mattered less than the Humay's belief in it. The bird carried its own legend like a jeweled collar. It flew high, not always because height pleased it, but because height allowed a shadow to fall. In Attar's valley, the hoopoe called the birds toward the Simurgh, the hidden king beyond 7 valleys. The nightingales, hawks, ducks, owls, and partridges rustled and cried, each held by some familiar attachment. The Humay listened from a ledge of dark stone. Its feathers shone faintly in the moonlight, and its eyes were proud with an old loneliness. When the hoopoe invited it to join the journey, the Humay spread its wings just enough for the others to see their breath. "Why should I seek another king?" it said. "Kings rise by my shadow. I do not sit at the doors of palaces. Palaces look for the place where I have passed. Men wait beneath the sky hoping I will fly over them. My absence troubles princes. My shadow crowns the lowly. Is that not enough?" The birds murmured. Some admired the Humay. Some envied it. A bird whose shadow could make kings seemed close to the secret of importance. The hoopoe, dusty from travel and sharp from truth, did not flatter it. "O bird," it said, "a shadow has no body of its own. It depends on light, on ground, on the angle of an hour. If kings are made by darkness moving beneath your wings, what have they received from your heart?" The Humay drew back. Its feathers stirred. No sword had touched it, yet something had been cut. The hoopoe went on, gentler now. "You are proud that men become kings under you. Look closer. Many kings become prisoners under crowns. If your gift binds them to fear, what sort of generosity is it? Come seek the one before whom both shadow and crown disappear." The Humay looked down at the valley floor. In the moonlight, every bird cast a shadow. The small sparrow's shadow lay near the falcon's. The hoopoe's shadow stretched crooked over stones. Even a broken twig had one. The Humay saw that it had mistaken darkness for power because others had done the same. All night, it remained awake on the ledge. Its shadow shifted as the moon moved, then shortened, then vanished when a cloud crossed the sky. For the first time, the Humay felt the fear beneath its pride. If no king needed its shadow, who would it be? If no court praised its passing, what weight would its wings have? At dawn in Attar's telling, the journey waited. The Humay did not become humble by hating itself. It became a little freer by seeing how tired it was of being important. When the birds rose, it rose with them, no longer searching the ground for someone to crown. In the caravanserai, the old dervish let his sleeve fall over his hand against the chill. The water carrier saw how even a shadow can become a throne if the heart is afraid of being unseen. The reed flute, hollow in the lamplight, had no shadow worth naming, yet it could sing. May you loosen the crown of being needed and rest beneath the wider sky. A cloud crossed the stars, and the night turned toward Batam, where a saint would count his life by another measure. The night had entered its deepest well. In that hour, even old regrets grow quiet if no one feeds them. The caravanserai seemed to float between earth and sky. The old dervish drew his cloak close and spoke of Batam, where Bayazid was remembered not only for ecstasy, but also for the strange arithmetic of the awakened heart. Bayazid had become old. His beard had whitened. His body, once strong from travel and fasting, moved with the carefulness of a man carrying a lamp through wind. People came to him from distant towns. Some wanted blessing. Some wanted stories. Some wanted to sit near a famous saint so that a little of his fame might cling to them like incense to cloth. One winter evening, a group of visitors gathered in his small room. Snow lay outside in the lane, but inside the lamp burned steady, and a kettle whispered over coals. A young scholar, eager and polished, sat near the front. He had brought questions written on a folded paper. Yet before he asked any of them, he looked at Bayazid's lined face and said, "Master, how old are you?" Bayazid answered, "For years." The visitors glanced at one another. The scholar smiled, thinking perhaps age had softened the master's mind. "Master, people say you are more than 70. Bayazid nodded. "That is what they count." The room waited. The kettle sighed. A small thread of steam rose and disappeared. Bayazid said, "For many years I lived for Bayazid. I learned, spoke, argued, desired, feared, and gathered the dust of my own name. I was alive in the market's record, alive in the memory of my family, alive in the talk of people. But I was not yet alive to the one who gives life. For years ago, a veil was lifted by mercy. Since then, I count." The scholar lowered his paper. His questions suddenly seemed crowded. He had wanted the master's age as one more fact to place beside other facts. Instead, the answer opened a grave and a cradle in the same sentence. A man could spend decades becoming known and still not have begun the life for which he was made. One visitor, a farmer with snow melting on his boots, began to weep quietly. He was nearly 60 and had long believed it was too late for his hidden life to matter. Bayazid looked at him with tenderness. "Do not grieve over uncounted years," he said. "The sun does not refuse to rise because a house has been dark since childhood." After the visitors left, the young scholar walked slowly through the snowy lane. He had arrived hoping to be recognized as intelligent. He left feeling strangely relieved that intelligence was not the measure of dawn. He tore up one of his written questions and let the pieces fall into the snow. They did not look wasted. They looked like white birds returning to whiteness. The old dervish in the caravanserai watched the water carrier's face. Many who fear being nobody are secretly grieving the years spent building a self that never felt real. Bayazid's 4 years were not an insult to the 70. They were a door in them. The reed flute gave no sound, but its silence seemed alive. It had been cut, dried, hollowed, and pierced before it could sing. Perhaps those years also counted, though the song had not yet begun. May you trust that no hidden year is lost when the heart turns toward home. A faint paling touched the far edge of night, and the story moved toward a palace where a fool would sit briefly on a throne. Before dawn, the old dervish allowed a small smile to return. The air was cold enough now that the sleepers pulled their blankets to their chins. From the stable came the warm smell of animals. The reed flute lay across the dervish's knees like a thin moonlit branch. He spoke of Bahlul, the holy fool of Baghdad, whose madness often knew the doorway that sane men missed. In the time of Harun al-Rashid, the palace shone at night with lamps and colored glass. Marble floors held reflections of servants passing with trays. Courtiers moved like careful fish in a bright pool, each one watching the caliph's face for signs of favor or danger. To be near the throne was considered greatness. To sit on it was greatness beyond speech. One day, when the court was distracted and guards had drifted toward another hall, Bahlul wandered into the audience chamber. His robe was patched. His hair had not been persuaded into order. He carried no petition, no jewel, no poem of praise. He looked at the empty throne, high and cushioned, with steps beneath it like a little mountain. He climbed the steps and sat down. For one breath, Baghdad became very quiet around him. Bahlul rested his hands on the arms of the throne and gazed across the hall, as if wondering what all the trouble was about. Then a guard turned, saw him, and cried out. Others rushed in. They pulled him down, struck him, and scolded him for insolence. A man in a patched robe had placed himself where only the ruler of an empire should sit. The order of the world, or at least the order of the palace, seemed to demand bruises. Bahlul did not fight. He covered his head while blows fell. When the noise reached Harun, the caliph entered and commanded the guards to stop. He recognized Bahlul and was half amused, half irritated. "Bahlul," he said, "why are you crying? You sat where you had no right to sit, and the guards punished you. Bahlul wiped his eyes with his sleeve. I am not crying for myself. The courtiers exchanged glances. Bahlul's face was streaked with tears, but his eyes were clear. Harun asked, Then for whom? For you, Bahlul said. I sat on that throne for only a moment and received all these blows. You have sat there for years. What blows must be waiting for you? The chamber fell silent in a different way. The guards looked at the floor. The courtiers froze in their silk. Harun gazed at the throne, and for a moment it no longer seemed cushioned. It seemed hard, exposed, watched by heaven. What men called importance was not only privilege. It was weight. It was answerability. It was the danger of believing that height meant safety. Bahlul stepped away from the throne and picked up his old cap. He did not ask for a position. He did not ask for compensation. He had sat where others dreamed of sitting and found it too costly for the soul. Then he walked out of the hall as lightly as a sparrow leaving a windowsill. In the caravanserai, the water carrier breathed out slowly. He had envied men whose names opened doors, whose seats were saved, whose absence caused concern. But Bahlul's bruised laughter showed another face of being known. Some seats are cages lined with velvet. May you be spared the throne that would make the heart forget its small, safe prayer. The last lamps of the night flickered, and a bier in Shiraz came into view, where a poet's name would be judged by mercy. The hour before dawn has a strange mercy in it. Night is still night, but the dark has begun to loosen its fist. In the caravanserai, the old dervish spoke more softly than before, as if the sleepers might carry the next tale into their dreams. He told of Shiraz and Hafiz, whose poems moved between mosque and tavern, prayer rug and rose garden, sober longing and wine-dark metaphor. When Hafiz died, the city did not agree about him. Some loved him as the tongue of hidden sweetness. Others distrusted him because his verses had wandered through forbidden images and returned smelling of the tavern. Men who had praised his lines in private became cautious in public. Men who had never understood him spoke with the confidence of judges. Even after death, the human wish to place a name in a box followed his bier through the streets. The morning was pale. Cypress trees stood still beyond the graveyard. The body of Hafiz was carried on a wooden bier covered with cloth. A crowd gathered, divided in feeling. Some wept into their sleeves. Some argued in low voices. A few said he should not be buried among the honored. Others said that love had its own language and that not every cup in a poem is filled with grape wine. The dispute grew. Dust rose around their sandals. A child stood near the edge of the crowd holding a small pomegranate, forgotten in his hand. The bier waited between earth and sky while living men debated the worth of one who could no longer defend his name. At last, someone suggested they seek an answer from Hafiz's own book. The divan was broad, its pages worn by many fingers. A man closed his eyes, opened the book, and read from the place where his hand had fallen. The words spoke, in their way, of not turning away from the bier of Hafiz, of his sins being washed in a larger mercy. The exact music belonged to Persian and to the secret between poet and friend, but the meaning entered the crowd like water entering dry soil. Those who had objected fell silent. Those who had loved him did not cheer. This was not a victory of one group over another. It was a softening. The bier was lifted again. The grave received him beneath the cypresses, and the arguments of the morning thinned into birdsong. Yet the tale is not only about Hafiz. It is about the terror of being misread. A person may spend a lifetime trying to arrange a name so that no one can accuse it, mock it, reduce it, forget it. Still, after the last breath, the name lies helpless in the mouths of others. What then remains? Not reputation, which is weather, not argument, which is smoke. Only the mercy that knew the heart before the first poem and after the final silence. In the caravanserai, the old dervish looked toward the eastern wall, where the darkness was faintly less dark. The water carrier imagined his own name spoken wrongly, or not spoken at all. The fear felt heavy, then less heavy. If the one who hears the reed also hears the root hidden in mud, perhaps no heart is finally lost to public misunderstanding. The dervish touched the reed flute and did not play. Hafiz had been carried through judgment into a quieter keeping. The world had not known what to do with him, but the grave was not the world's mouth. May you be held beyond every mistaken story told about you. A pale line formed behind the desert hills, and the final tale waited in Yemen, among camel dust and an unseen friend. Dawn had not yet broken, but it was gathering itself. The caravanserai walls, which had been only shapes in darkness, began to show their cracks, their old plaster, their patient stains from years of rain. The water carrier sat very still. The old dervish lifted the reed flute one last time and let a long, low note pass through it. The sound was almost a sigh. It seemed to come from the reed bed itself, from the place before cutting, before distance, before names. Then he told the last tale, the tale of Uwais of Karen. Uwais lived in Yemen, far from the circles where men were praised for nearness. He was poor. He tended camels. His clothing carried the smell of animals and dust. His hands were rough from rope, and his face was browned by open sky. He had heard of the Prophet, peace moving through his name like wind through palms, and love for him entered Uwais so deeply that distance could not weaken it. Yet Uwais did not travel to sit before the one he loved. His mother was old and needed him. Her body had become a small house of pain. She needed water, food, patience, and the steady presence of a son who did not make his service into a song for others. So Uwais remained. While caravans moved north and stories came back like fragrant smoke, he stayed near the low doorway of his mother's room. He milked animals. He patched leather. He lifted her gently when she wished to sit. At night, when she slept, he stood outside beneath the stars and sent his longing across the desert. To many, he was nobody. No crowd gathered to hear him. No scribe recorded his daily kindness. Men passing with trade goods may have seen only a poor camel herder and turned their eyes toward richer company. But in the unseen register of love, his name shone without needing ink. The tradition tells that the Prophet knew of Uwais without having met him in the ordinary way. Later, after the Prophet had returned to the friend, Umar and Ali were told to seek this hidden man from Yemen and ask for his prayer. Imagine the wonder of that search. Great companions, known and honored, looking among travelers for one who had not stood in the famous gatherings, one whose nearness had been woven from obedience, longing, and care for an aging mother. When they found Uwais, he did not look like a man carrying a public treasure. He was among the poor, modest and reluctant, as if recognition were a cloak too bright for his shoulders. They asked for his prayer. He was embarrassed. He knew his own smallness. He knew the dust under his nails. But perhaps that was why his prayer had room in it. A heart not crowded with its own importance can carry the needs of others gently. The old dervish paused. The first bird of morning called from somewhere beyond the caravanserai wall. The water carrier looked at his jars. All night, he had listened to kings, saints, fools, poets, and birds. Now the final tale placed a camel herder in the hush before sunrise, and the fear of being nobody loosened like a knot soaked in water. Uwais had missed the visible meeting, yet he had not missed love. He had been absent from the place where others could see him, yet present where the real sees without shadow. His life was not an argument against longing. It was longing made faithful in a small room, beside an old mother under desert stars. The reed flute gave its last breath. Cut from the reed bed, it did not become worthless. Its wound became a passage for music. The human heart, fearing it is unimportant, may be just such a reed, hollowed by hidden ache, known by the breath that moves through it. May you sleep as one already seen by the friend who never needed proof. The sun touched the rim of the desert, and the caravanserai entered morning without disturbing the sleepers. Thank you for spending this hour with the reed flute. If this brought you a moment of peace, consider subscribing. Rest well and sleep deeply.